Hello everyone, my name is Amar and I'm just a random underwater hockey dude. We are back with the videos about underwater hockey stuff and discussing all sorts of topics that are related to our crazy sport. And today I wanted to talk about something that I've been wanting to talk for a while, which is about underwater hockey sticks and the things that in my opinion you should take into account at the moment of deciding what to use to play. So yeah, let's get into it. So probably the first thing to talk about is why is it important to choose the right stick. Maybe the main one or one of the main ones is because it has big impact on your health, especially the health of your hand and your arm and the injury risk when we play. The second one is around our skill set and the skills that we develop when we learn the sport and the things that we use when we play. And depending on which stick do we use, we're gonna have more or less of some skills, or it's gonna make those a little bit easier. So choosing the stick that suits your style of hockey and your skill set is quite important. And the third one, and maybe you could say the most important one, is that choosing the right stick, it makes it a lot more enjoyable, being comfortable with the stick that you feel like you're one with it. Execute all you want, and you don't even have to think about your gear. It's a good thing. So yeah, the fun bit is pretty important too. The way most people choose the stick, or I would say lots of us have made the same mistake, you could say, is just to grab a stick, jump in the water, do a few flicks. Oh, I can flick big, that's my stick. And that's it. And in my opinion, passing is obviously very important, and having a good flick, we all enjoy that. But there's a lot more to it, and I wanted to cover some of those aspects. So let's dive a little bit deeper into some of those. Before we get into it, I want to say this video is sponsored by 6AA Underwater Hockey. 6AA is a brand dedicated to the design and manufacturing of underwater hockey equipment, and its gear has been created for all sorts of players, from beginners to social to high performance players. So if you want to know more about it, please visit 6aa.com.au. Okay, so let's see some of the main things that you should take into account when choosing your stick. The first one that I want to talk about is the material. There's many different materials that we can make a stick from, and probably if you're old school like me, maybe you have started with wooden sticks. Maybe I'm getting a little bit old, but I think many of us started our hockey careers playing with wood, which is a great material for a stick. Is somewhat light depending which wood do you use. It's super nice when handling the puck, how the puck tends to stay close to the wood and it doesn't bounce too far. It's a great feel, but it also has some cons, which is, it's not that easy to make two sticks exactly the same, and the painting and all of those things. Probably that's the main reason why most people, we all have moved away from wood. It's a great material, but it's a little bit of a pain. Then we have plastic, which is what most of us use today. Plastic sticks were introduced around early 2000s by the hockeying family in New Zealand, which was super cool and made in a way our sport better and more professional. So that's pretty cool. There's obviously all sorts of types of plastics, and they offer different qualities and different properties, so they're good at different things. If you're a little bit into engineering, you might know what flexural strength is, and compressive strength, and tensile strength, things that I'm not an expert, so I have to read them like I'm doing now. So yeah, understanding a little bit about the specs of those is somewhat important. There are plastics that are super strong, but are also very stiff, and that makes that when you are handling the puck or you in the contest, it transfers too much that energy into your arm, your hand, so you feel like every single hit is transferring. And also the puck tends to kind of like bounce away from the stick because it's so rigid that it doesn't want to stay with you. So I think it's a good idea to choose a stick that is made out of a material that has a little bit of flex in it, is strong enough, but it sort of absorbs a little bit of that force when you get hit, or when when you're just handling the puck, so it wants to stay close to you. There are also manufacturing processes that are called overmolding, which is basically trying to put two materials together or overlap them, or make them one in a way, like chemically, or attaching them, or in there's all sorts of processes.
Yes, science!
Some manufacturers offer sticks that have a rigid core and with an outside made out of a softer material or somewhat rubbery kind of material, and that's cool because that makes that the puck doesn't bounce as much. It obviously might have some cons, like maybe the outside material being a little bit more frail than the core material, but yeah, it helps a lot with the feel and that concept of the pucks wanting to stay close to your bat. So that's good, and some people like it, but that's like personal preference. So that's another option that we have there. So probably the main thing is to check that whoever's making those sticks for you or your manufacturer is using a high quality plastic that offers especially good flexural strength, which is how much flex a material can cope with, because that's what we want, like a material that is resilient but also a little bit flexible, even if it's not like flexible to your eye, but it's somewhat flexible to be able to cope with those forces that we expose the material when we play, and also not gonna break enough. I personally like polyurethane, which is a material that is pretty resilient, and you can choose all sorts of different qualities. Depending what you get, it will offer different flex and different hardnesses, and yeah, I like this material. It's very versatile, and yeah, you can to some extent manipulate a lot of those properties. So yeah, this is my go-to when it comes to sticks. So yeah, I just encourage you to give different materials a go. The next thing that I think we all should take into account when choosing our stick is the length and the width, or like basically the dimensions of the stick. But the length is important. The width as well, but the length is a key point.
That's what she said!
To look at when choosing your stick. The length of a stick makes a big impact on the health of our hand and our wrist, and maybe even our shoulder. So it's very important that we choose the right thing. If we understand a little bit about physics, which I don't really, the longer the leverage, the more the pivot point is gonna get force. So in this case, if this is the stick, the pivot point would be this or this. The more force here, the more stress is gonna cause here. So if I play with a super long stick here and I get hit on this end, obviously that force is exponentially bigger. So we're more exposed to injuries when we play with a super long stick.
That just makes no fucking sense. I mean, it's just bullshit. Fuck. Oh my.
So back in the day, we were told that backs play with big sticks and forwards play with small sticks, especially when it comes to the width of the stick. We were told that backs needed wide paddles in their bats to be able to knock down passes from the opposition, and forwards needed to be nimble and fast. And that is somewhat true. Like, it's obviously a little bit easier to knock down flicks with a wider stick. But if you have a look to, you know, the current underwater hockey scene, you will find very, very high level backs that play with very skinny sticks, and the other way around. Like, some of the best forwards in the world, they play with pretty huge sticks. So it is a thing to take into account, but not something that I would, you know, 100% rely on for making a decision on what to get. I would look at so many other things first, rather than just, oh yeah, I'm back, I play with big sticks, or I'm forward, I play with small sticks. So I don't think that is 100% true. You might also find sticks that have hollow bits, like this one have holes or have hollow designs, and that is cool because it makes the stick somewhat lighter and especially less resistance when you move it in the water. So that's cool. I think it's something that the plastic options have allowed us to include in our designs. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. So just for reference, I would say, so this stick is 300 mils, and I would say is as big as anyone would need. I think something bigger than this is not healthy, or I don't know if someone is probably out there playing with something longer than this. This long is probably a no-no for a junior player or someone with a thin wrist or someone that is not physically that strong, and that is me. Like, I can't play with stick this big, just my wrist is not strong enough. I'm not, you know, not a big person. So I try to stay away from these sticks. They just don't work as good for me, but there are guys that are pretty good with them. So you just need to figure out for yourself. Then we have maybe around 280 millimeters, 275 to 280, some like 5 mils more or less is like what we would call like a mid-size stick, and what many people use. So I think it's a good middle ground between a long stick and a small one, and you can do most of your sticks. It's not too big. It's not obviously dimensions will alter the weight of the stick. So yeah, it's like a good mid ground of a stick. And then we have kind of like the smaller sticks, which is maybe around 260 or 265 millimeters, and is more towards the short end of the spectrum. There's obviously really good players that have played with even shorter sticks than this. Once you start going shorter, the flicking starts suffering a little bit. You have less leverage to launch the puck and to give, you know, momentum, the puck rolling through the edge of the stick. When you go longer, you have more of that leverage and more of that room for the puck to gain momentum. So I would say up to 60 you still can flick quite big. Like, I play with short sticks and I'm comfortable with my flick, and I know plenty of people are as well. Anything smaller than 260 start being quite small, so you probably should have a really good reason to go smaller than that. The next thing to take into account is the hook. How much hook are you going to be using? And that has a lot to do with your skill set. A big hook will make some skills easier and will make some others a little bit harder. So it's for you to decide which skills do you use the most and which ones you want to sort of potentiate. So as you might know, I live in Western Australia and I've been here for quite a long time, and Australians do like big hooks.
All I had was me jocks on. I was chasing him up the straight and I'm just like, mate.
Maybe this is an example of a stick with a sharp hook. Tackles are very effective when you have a bigger hook. And also this possession game, when you have the puck inside, and you're keeping the puck away, or you're curling, everything that you do inside the stick is quite strong. All of these moves, like the figure 6 and tackles and just curling and keeping the puck in there, all that skill set is super strong when you have a big hook. It's not that you cannot do those with a smaller hook. I played for many years with a stick like this, and I really liked it because having a big hook, it has also some downsides. The main one is when you pull the puck back towards you. Most of the time you have to go on top of the puck. This is the puck, you pull it, you have to go on top. Rolling the puck around, it becomes a little bit trickier. And the first thing you're gonna notice when you switch to a big hook is that the puck sort of comes to you a little bit too much. It almost gets under your tummy, so it comes to you too much. So it requires a lot of adjustment. And the other cool thing about having less hook is one, that you can roll the puck very easily. The tic-tac sort of skill that is just rolling around the puck with your bat is super easy. And obviously we have a much better access to the inside flicking. So if you're someone that uses that skill, inside flicking, or even I used to flick a lot like this. Now I play with more hook, so I don't have that skill anymore, or it's a lot harder for me to use my inside flick, and I kind of miss it, but I feel very comfortable having the puck in the inside of my stick, and it just works for me. So yeah, play around with different amounts of hook. Next thing to take into account is stay on top of the latest rules and make your stick compliant.
You don't get it. I built this place. Down here, I make the rules. Down here, I make the threats.
Every World Championships, there's some dramas around rules and sticks and interpretation of the rules. So kind of try your best to stay on top of the rules and see what is legal and what is not. I was invited a couple of years ago to do a presentation for SEMA's Underwater Hockey Commission on some views that I had around some particular rules that involve sticks. So I did my presentation, which I have attached or posted a link in the description below. So if you want to check that presentation, there's some of my thoughts that I had at the time, and that I think I still agree with most of them. So yeah, just have a look if you're interested. Bottom line is just make sure that your sticks are legal and that even your manufacturer is staying up to date with rules and stuff. The next one has to do with handles. Obviously we all like playing with something that feels good, that is comfortable, and there's different styles of handles. For example, we have here an example of a handle that is somewhat ergonomic and has good grips and is not, it's not too round. I feel like when handles are too round, they kind of like turn on you and they're hard to handle, and you end up, making your grip, like all the muscles in your forearm and whatnot, end up too tense by the end of a comp. If you play on a weekend, you play 10 games or something like that, but at the end, from just gripping is more demanding. So having a good handle that suits the size of your hand is important. And also it has a big impact on your hand's health. So here we have an example of a stick that has the inside of the handle is somewhat, I don't know if you can see, it's somewhat straight. So this being kind of straight-ish makes that there's a little bit of room between my thumb and that, and some people they're really used to this style of sticks, so this is fine for them. This makes that when we get hit, that energy transfers a little bit better into this area of the hand. We have a bunch of little bones here, scaphoid, and lots of little ones that I don't know the name, but I've had issues with some of them in the past and actually fractured my scaphoid twice. There are designs like like this one, that has a little bit more of a curved profile, so it doesn't sit like all the force is not absorbed by your thumb, but more for a stronger beat in your hand here, like for this muscle. This is like a more muscly beat in your hand. And even if you have a look to this prototype, it has even a more pronounced profile here. So when you get hit, it's somewhat absorbed for this part of your hand that is stronger and not so much by your thumb. Some people don't like this handle and some people do. So you figure out what feels right for your hand. The main point is that it feels comfortable, that it doesn't turn on you, and that doesn't make your grip to work too hard. The next one is about bevels and textures. So bevels are important, especially when it comes to passing. Your flicks will go higher or lower or shorter or longer, depending on two things. One, your technique, obviously, and second, how much, like the angle that the puck leaves your bat, and that is determined by the angles in your stick. So if you look at the stick from this point of view, you'll see that the edge has, the bevel has an angle, and that will determine different things. So you put too much angle, your flicks might go too loopy and too high, and that's not ideal. And it goes too straight, maybe it doesn't want to get the height that you want. With the inside bit of your stick, it's a little bit less important, but if you're someone that uses your inside flicking, you might want to look at some bevels there, and also how sticks are textured. So if you can see, I don't know if you can see here, some sticks have like a little textures in the design, and that helps with two things. One, the grip on your hand, so you kind of hold it properly and doesn't slip. And the next one on how the material grips onto the puck. So if it has good grip, it kind of like gets into the material of the puck, and you'll be able to flick more effectively, and also roll the puck around the stick, so the puck sort of spins more effectively. Textures are a good thing. Smooth surfaces are not good. So just make sure that your stick is well textured in the bits that it needs to. Okay, I'm gonna start to wrap up the video now, otherwise it's gonna be too long.
Stop it, please, I beg you!
The first advice that I want to give you is to try different types of sticks. Don't get too fixated on how it flicked the first time that you flicked with that stick, and take more aspects of the stick into account, as described before, especially when it comes to your skill set. So try to understand what are the pros and the cons of having a shorter stick or a wider stick, or how it feels to have more or less hook. Just try to keep it playful, and keep an open mind to all of the options. And at some point you would feel, okay, I'm really good at tackling and I want a bigger hook, or I'm really good at moving the puck around and with my figure eights, and that's like my thing. I'm really good dumming people or serving people, and it just feels really good to play with something light, or I just feel like strong with something chunky and heavy, and it just makes my game better. Keep your mind open to more aspects of the stick, rather than only focusing on how it flicks. Even if people around you are using something different, like I have very close friends that play hockey very well with widely different sticks that I use, and it just because that works for them, and for me it's just something very different. So you find your own stick that you feel like, okay, this is what I feel like is good for me. So as you can see, there's a lot to it, and there's a lot of factors and things to take into account when making or choosing a stick. So I think it's worth to try to find someone that makes sticks professionally and that have thought of all of those. Our sport has developed so much in the last 15-20 years. It's come a long way. So yeah, if you find someone that manufactures sticks professionally and has taken all those factors into account and is producing quality gear, I think you should support them, and obviously you're gonna benefit from playing with a good design. Just make sure that they tick all of those boxes in terms of design and materials and quality and all of that, and it should be fine. If you are crafty yourself or your friend, that is fine too. You know, you can be creative and come up with new designs and new ideas. That's how every sport develops, and you can use some of these factors when it comes to creating new equipment as well. On a side note, I think it's very valuable that we all help to protect intellectual property, as this is the way that they or us, we all the people that we are into making hockey gear, we can keep doing it. Otherwise, without that support from you guys, it would be really hard for us, for people like me and a bunch of us that you know, are really into developing high quality hockey gear. So yeah, just help to make sure that what you're getting is trustworthy and is original design. People around maybe making cheeky copies of that is not cool, and I discourage it. Try to support people that are doing things well. Again, if you feel creative, try to make your own that is, you know, somewhat. We all have influences from other designs and other people that have created gear before, but try to come up with your own original ideas. Okay, and now, as you could have expected.
Oh, you speak English?
No, just that first speech and this one explaining it.
You're kidding, right?
Okay?
Okay, now, as you could have expected, it's time for the plug. As some of you might know, I've been making underwater hockey gear for quite a while. Something like 18 or 19 years, something crazy like that. I've been making this gear from different points of view, from the coaching point of view, from the player point of view, but also from the product design point of view. So I have a bit of background in that field, and that has helped me to, you know, develop things, thinking about some of the things that I already shared with you. So yeah, I put a lot of effort into making the best gear that I can produce, that my brain and my skills allow me to. And I use the highest quality materials that I have access to. In terms of sticks, we have a range of about 8 designs that you can choose from, and some of them are longer, shorter, wider, more or less hook. I use very high quality polyurethane, which is quite a good material, and I probably get the best polyurethane that money can buy, pretty much. Have a look, email me, message me with any questions that you might have. We ship anywhere in the world, so you're in Europe or in Colombia or in New Zealand or in wherever you are, I can ship there. I can't thank you enough for the support that I get through the channel, with all the positive comments and even the comments in general, even if they don't need to be positive.
Ooh, you suck!
But just letting me know that you're kind of like paying attention and that you enjoy the content or whatever, that's very rewarding. So yeah, post your comments below if I miss maybe some aspects that I didn't take into account when it comes to sticks. So your support is what makes possible me spending so much time creating content and things for our sport. So I really appreciate you for that. don't hold back when it comes to sharing the content or making comments about it. So that just makes me really happy. Even if you have something that you don't agree with, that's fine too. If you want to find me on social media, you can find me as random UWH dude on Instagram. I usually post things about training, about gear, about things that you might find interesting. So if you want to do that, we can stay in touch through there as well. If you want to see the socials of 6AA, you can do that as well. I'm gonna post the link below. Thanks so much. My name is Amar and I'm just a random underwater hockey dude. See you next time.